guys, welcome to the tutorial. Here's what we're going to be working on today, and first I want to give a huge shout out to HadesTutorials for giving me the resources. First off in the video, what we're going to do is we're going to make a new canvas 450 by 200 and we're going to color it in completely black. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our HQ render, but first we're going to do a radial gradient map. This is basically to create our focal and our center point where the light source is going to be, basically where our light source is going to be coming from. Size down and position your render wherever you want it, and make sure that it's even with what we're going to do, because we're going to be doing a different style tutorial. As you may have noticed, the tutorial is sped up because the tutorial itself didn't take me ages. It took me ages to do it, and so I kind of sped through it. Otherwise it was going to be just hours and hours and hours, and that would have taken forever. As you guys know, I don't really plan anything out when I make these signatures. I basically just kind of go with whatever I feel like doing. So what you're going to see in the video is you're going to see me change up the style of what I'm going to go for. But what you're going to need in this tutorial basically is C4Ds, a whole bunch of C4Ds, and a whole bunch of basically renders and effects and stuff like that. And I added a bunch of effects into this one. What I'm doing at the moment is I just grabbed a texture and I'm putting in there basically just to add some more light into it, and you won't see very much of it in the finished product, so don't worry too much about it. It's not horribly important if you don't have textures. Next thing you need to do is grab a C4D if you're liking. I used two different C4Ds in this one, and I just kind of overlay them and do what I want with them. Position them with the flow, and as I stated in one of my previous tutorials, it's not really good to go with signatures, or renders sorry, that don't have its own flow and that don't have any action to it, as you see the Deadmau5 render, or Deadmau5, crucify me. That he's not doing anything, he's not got any action going on about him, he's just kind of, just sitting there being cool. So, what you have to do with those typically is you have to go off to the sides and all that rubbish. So, that's what we're going to be doing in this one. But don't let anybody tell you those are bad ones. They're not all bad, it just takes a little bit more talent. What I'm doing at the moment is I just I play some things around and I erased bits I didn't like, which was quite a bit of it, to be honest. Next thing what you're seeing right now is the main C4D for what we're going to be using, the black one, which is what I recommend if you're going to be doing styles like these. You want something that has small amounts of color, just not like huge amounts of color, like way too much, but I'm talking like small amounts, and that you can position in moderation, do like quite a bit of them. Remember to erase parts that you don't like. Next thing I'm doing is I'm going to add two light sources at the very back, like right near the background, and basically what we're going to do with those is we're going to overlay that one layer. What you do in the beginning is, what I like to do either way, is you take the very bottom layer and you put it on overlay. This turns the background of it darker blue, and it gives it more color overall when you finish doing the light source. What you're going to do after that is you're going to duplicate it however many times you have to get the effect that you're going for. But I brought I think I brought like 2 layers above it, that way it kind of flows over and it covers it more. Then I set it on, linear, and then I did another one that was on soft light. just basically like giving it more color. Also, a tip for you guys who are like me and you're kind of like layer sluts about it. If you've got like way too many layers, it's never a bad thing to go back and start toying with them, you know, like click them on and off and see which parts that you don't like, and I've said this before. At the moment what I just did is I took a black and white gradient map and I set it to overlay. This is what you do commonly if you want to create more drama in the signature basically. It just it does huge amounts of contrast, and that's basically what we're going for. You need huge amounts of contrast. But then again, you know, just play around with what you've got. What I'm doing now is I took the very top C4D and I'm blurring it. Basically, that creates a sense of depth. For instance, if you're taking like a picture or something, and you know at the very front, if something's way too close, it gets really blurry. And that's basically what it is. It's kind of camera depth. You guys all know this style that I'm about to do. Basically, just go to your basic settings and turn the size jitter all the way up, and make sure you've got a decent sized brush, and then just dot it around randomly. You can also use the scatter option if you want to do that. Next thing I did is I hid the layer with the brushing, created a layer above it, and did image apply image, clipping mask by doing a right click, and then I flipped it, transformed it horizontally. Next thing I just did a little bit more darkening of the edges, nothing too serious. What I did there is, remember guys, it's all about minute changes because that's what gives you the better effect overall. What I did there is I took a black and white gradient map, turned it on soft light to give it a little bit more drama and contrast, turned it all the way down, like literally almost all the way down. And then I took a blue gradient map and I did overlaid on that, and I think I turned it on linear dodge. You can mess around with it. Linear, screen, and lighten all basically do the same thing, just some of them have different colors. Then I mess with the curves. You know, basically with curves, it's just for bringing out light sources that you do want and light sources that you don't. Darkening bits and stuff. Mess with your exposure. Your exposure is basically what gives it that overall blending sensation. Of course, gradient maps do all the blending, but exposure is what you want to mess with the most. Levels, I find myself not often messing with levels. There's some times that you can mess with them, but there are other times where basically it's just really not necessary unless you have very small changes that you want to do. This next one is a biggie because I get asked this all the time, like, how do you do your text, how do you do your text? Well, text is, it's not exactly difficult to do. When I first started out, I was horrid at doing text. I hated doing it so much. But one thing you've got to learn is that basically you can't rely on putting your name on there and expecting it to look good. Sometimes you have to trust people not to steal your work. And if you have to put your name on it, you've really got to experiment with the ways that you do. For the most part, try to do something simple when you're starting out. Mess with the FX channel, that's what I did on here. And I'll do a better tutorial on FX and text blending and all that. I'll do a better tutorial on that later. But at the moment, what I just did is I added a text that I really liked, and I just kind of spaced it out and then put one layer over the other. What I found out while doing this is that the font that I'm using is a very good font, and I will upload the file for it so you can download it if you don't already have it. It's a very good font. What I found out about it is that the numbers on it look horrid. So what I had to do was I went and got another text and then did the font for that, for the number 5, for Deadmau5. At the moment we're just messing with blending. Like I said, you can do this by clicking on the FX channel at the very bottom of your layers. By doing that, you'll open up a new menu. I think you might have to rasterize. No, you don't have to rasterize it. My bad. But you can do that, and that's what a lot of people do for the text. You can do amazing things on there. And just kind of experiment with what you're trying to get and the feel that you're trying to do. What I did after that is I duplicated the layers I wanted to have like a little glow on them. Excuse me. I duplicated them and I did a Gaussian blur. And after doing that, you just kind of lower the opacity and play with it a little bit until you get a kind of glowing effect on it. And that's basically the tag. Lower your opacity after sharpening and find out something that you like and you're done. Also, if you want to learn how to do borders, if you don't know the simple way of doing it, just get your rectangular tool, do a little line that you want and hit Control J and it'll duplicate the layer. Just hold Control Shift, or not Control Shift, just Shift and then move it. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and huge shout out to HadesTutorials for giving me the resources for this video. You guys should definitely go subscribe to them. Cheers.